couple of things before I kind of want to end with, what do we tell someone who, whether in their life they're just managing their family, or, you know, what can they do if they're not in a position to have an EA? Before I do that, something we talked about before, you know, YFFR has trained over 300 teachers now, and we have almost 600 people in our Teachers and Supporters Facebook group. And you know, Brittany, I was telling you before that I have the work app that tracks where my work goes and the hours I spend on it. And my admin hours have gone down and curriculum hours have gone up, which is the goal. But the number one thing I spend the most time on, I had 50 hours last month of meetings. And tell us the math. If everyone in the YFR group wanted 15 minutes of my time, how much time would I be spending with everybody?
Yeah, so I was just kind of thinking this over, and, you know, we think, okay, 15 minutes, like, why can this person not give me 15 minutes? But if every person in just the teacher group for Facebook was given 15 minutes, that would be 143 hours a month.
Right.
And breaking that down towards week, because we're like, okay, well, that's over the month. That's 36 hours a week. So that's pretty much a full-time thing. And granted, right, not everybody's going to need 15 minutes of your time, but that's
just within the group. We have tons of people outside the group that are wanting time. You know?
Yep, and that's not even including the scheduling of the meeting to talk with the person.
Right.
So, you know, just all those little things, they add up real fast.
Right. And then I can't actually work on the curriculum. So it's just kind of put everything in perspective. And so we have the operational structure of Brittany being my avatar, my magical unicorn, my Mary Poppins, everything that she is. But that's why we started the squad leaders as well, so that all of our teachers, I want all of our teachers to have direct support of our organization. That's part of our tagline, you know, supported, protected, and prepared. We want that for our teachers. I can't give that to everyone, just literally math-wise. There's not enough time. So the squad leader roles are really to have that person to have that direct contact with someone in the organization, and the squad leader can report to the squad commander, which is Chris. Chris can report to me, and we're all on the same page. So for those of you who have trained with YFFR a few years ago, before we had that in place, this is why we have these new policies and procedures and the squad leaders and an EA, so that we can be there for you. And we can support you as teachers. So you're doing the best you can as teachers. I'm doing the best I can as in my role, and everyone can really thrive in their role. Mm-hmm. And that's why that's in place. And that's one of the reasons for this interview, is I really wanted to explain the structure to our internal team, and also give the permission to other people to put structure in their own life. So speaking of that, not everyone might be a CEO. Maybe people are leaders of their households, or leaders of a department, or just trying to step into more of a leadership role, and an EA is not an option. So I want to talk about what someone can do now to delegate, create structure and boundaries. I have a couple of suggestions, and then Brittany, I want to hear you, and I want to end with one last question after that. If you are running an organization, I suggest interns would be good, great way. The only thing with that is that they do leave you after a semester or so. I did have interns up to a year, you know, of four semesters. And so just keep that in mind, that it is going to be short term, but interns are a great thing at colleges. We have our project management tool software that Brittany introduced us to, which is called Asana. For the yogis out there, it's not asana, it's Asana. But it's created so much of streamlining conversation and workflow. So you can do a project management tool just for yourself. You don't have to have a team. And I would recommend that. Another thing is an email auto reply. Brittany and I decided we're not a fan of that for our position right now, because between Brittany and myself, we can get back to everyone within a couple of days. But before Brittany, I had an auto responder on that said, I will get back to your email within a week. So it set up an expectation. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and having a constant auto reply, if you're worried about annoying people, at least with Gmail, it only auto replies every 4 days. So if you send me 5 emails within 4 days, it's only going to reply one time, auto reply. So that actually gave me a little bit of room and space. And I also think setting up clear hours of not only when you're working, but personal time. So I actually, Brittany, I don't really start my work day until our meetings, which is at 11 a.m. my time, because sure, I could start work at 6 a.m., but I need my morning to do my personal and professional development. I am taking, I'm studying, I continue to study my yoga and my mindfulness and journaling and reading. So that's scheduled time in the morning. And then I put in, my work after that. So that's, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to not be burned out. But those are some tools that I found, and I really try, if I can help it, to not work on weekends. What else you got for us for someone who's looking for some structure?
No, I think that's good. Just kind of, setting out your time and knowing that when you kind of go back to saying no, when you're saying no to something, it's so that you can say yes to something else. So, being able to say yes to family time sometimes means saying no to something else, whether it's no to friends, which is still something fun, still something you want to do, or saying that not now, I'm not going to spend time with you now, but that doesn't mean I don't care for you. It means that, something has to give. We only have so much time in the day. So weekends is a big thing. My husband actually works Saturday mornings, but he gets up really early to do his work Saturday morning. So then I can sleep in, and then we get time together later on. Even housework. So I planned on only working part-time so that I could then cook and clean and do other things that also bring me joy. But some of that has, open up those communication lines and say, okay, I'm overwhelmed right now. What are the priorities? Where can something give a little bit? Where can I ask for help? Because, we try to be strong, self-sustaining people. And especially, as lady bosses, sometimes we push so hard to make a name for ourselves that we don't want to ask for help. And knowing that whether that help is in a friend or a family, or even people say, okay, well, I don't have the budget to get an EA or a VA right now. Knowing I have one client that will hire me for maybe 5 hours of work to get one project done for her, and that's it. Like, I don't have a continuing contract set up with her, but she knows that she can't get that project done, so she's asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that one project at a time is great, because one thing that also helped me is I can only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So what I was doing is I was doing one thing and worrying about 3 others at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do one thing, check it off, then the next thing, and check it off, and like you said, I'm saying yes to those things, which means if someone calls me and says, I need to talk to you now, I'm working on something, I have to, that's why I have to organize meetings. Because I can only do one thing at a time. And if I say yes to that, it means no to something that might be also equally important, so one thing at a time. And I think also, like you said, with noticing when you're being overwhelmed and communicating that, I think I would like to ask all of us to be understanding and forgiving, to know that everyone's really trying to do the best they can, knowing you're only seeing one aspect of someone's life, and that behind the scenes, they really truly are doing the best they can, if we can understand that and grant a little grace. And then if you hire someone and they're not meeting your performance expectations, that needs to be a conversation, right? But that also means setting up expectations. This is like that auto reply. You can expect an email back from me within a week. not 48 hours, because at that point I did not have help. I didn't have an EA. So here's the expectation. So if I don't get back to you in a month, and sometimes that happened, and I had to say, I'm sorry, this is, I'm not sitting watching TV. I'm just trying to navigate 30 emails, that come in a day. So, and then that kind of brings me to the last thing I want to mention or ask of you is, I asked you what makes a good EA and what can someone look for, and I'm truly asking you this is what do you look for in someone like me? What can I do best to make your job easier and to create structure and to be the best lady boss that I can be?
Yeah, so when I work with a client, them knowing that starting off, they're going to need to dedicate more time to me because I don't know their systems. I don't know their business. I had exposure to YFFR before, but I didn't truly know what was going on. We only see so much of a business, and there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes that you can't even, wrap your mind around it until you've been working with someone for a few months. And even then, you only know what they've been doing those few months. And so just having that communication of, okay, I'm going to need more time towards the beginning, but it's going to make me more efficient down the road. But also having somebody that gives me the freedom to do what I need to do and gives me feedback on it. Because if I were to be doing things and you're just sitting there not saying anything to me, and then I find out 2 months down the road that you hated everything I did, and now you think I'm not a good fit, but really I just didn't know.
You need direction. Direction. And I think that it's so hard because there's egos get so involved, and yoga is all about turning the ego down and turning up the consciousness, right? So everything can kind of go back to these yoga concepts. But so when we get feedback, everyone gets defensive, right? Not everyone, but that's sort of the initial thing. And then you have to be like, okay, right? I love feedback because I want to get better and I want to feel free to give, you feedback, and which we even did before this, because you were designing some thank you notes for us, and I said, this is how I'm, what I'm getting from this and wanting to talk about it. And because one thing that where did I read this? Probably multiple places, is you always want to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are, right? Especially in like other areas. So I don't just say my way or the highway. I tell you what I'm getting from something, and I'd like to see everyone's feedback about it. So I think, free communication of feedback was trying to drop our egos down a little bit. It's going to help for everybody.
Yeah, and I think the best thing coming onto the YFFR team that you said was that if I have like a question or submitting a task or something like that, to include my intention with it. So not just saying, I did this way and that's the way it is because that's the way it's been done, that's the way I've done it, whatever. But instead saying, whether it's booking flights even. So I booked flights this way because it allows you all to come in around the same time. So it may not be the most convenient thing for you personally, but if I add my intention on why I did it that way, it helps you better understand me and best give me feedback, because I might have good intention, but that doesn't mean what I did was right.
Or for that moment might be right. So, and that's a great example. Like I love the flight thing too, because we just did this with the Cal Fire flights, us getting to the airport like 3 hours early, but this is why. And that made a lot of sense. I was like, yeah, totally makes sense. Totally get it, versus just booking it out there and not knowing why. But, and there might be a time that I'll be like, yes, actually, normally I would agree with your intention, but because of X, Y, and Z in this particular case. So, and that's something I learned. Oh man, I'm forgetting his name right now. I'll drop this in some notes. Maybe. I wonder if I can look it up quickly. I'm going to look it up as we talk, because it's called intention-based leadership. And I got it from a podcast. Let me look this up right now. David Marquette. intention-based leadership. DAVIDMARQUET. And that's where I got that from, is what a leader can really do is sit back and watch everyone do their work, because if it's intention based, we know why it's happening. And then the leader can step in and say, I'm going to stop you. I understand what you're doing and why, and I'm actually going to stop or redirect because of these reasons, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've very rarely had to do that. Since we started implementing this intention-based leadership, I've really been be able to sit back and watch people thrive. And everyone's so really clued in our ops team about YFFR's mission and intention that it's really difficult for anyone to really go off the rails, you know? So that's true. And you do that really, really well, is I know exactly where your mind is for everything, and everything really does make sense. So I think the learning curve of you learning our organization was very short. Is that the right way to describe it? A very short time learning curve, you know, to get to know our projects, and just to give some transparency to the people listening. I'm looking at our project management tool right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 30. We probably have 60 different projects going on, if not more. I mean, and all big projects. The projects we have listed are the big projects, not even the small, tiny ones. Those are, because each one of those projects have subtasks, have tasks and then subtasks. So there's hundreds of tasks that we're working on, from train the trainers to media to, you know, a new online academy we're starting, our social media, our teacher toolkits, our conferences, managing teachers. So hundreds of things, you know, and that's why this is so important. And I know everyone in their life has so much they're balancing. And so even if you're not running an organization, you're running your life. And I think the same things can apply.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for indulging me and talking about what makes you so great at what you do, because you really are, and we really, really appreciate you at Yoga for First Responders. And so now I hope that all of our team and family that's listening to this, when you hear from Brittany, you're really knowing you're getting the best of the best. They're going to start requesting more meetings with you than me.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start subtasking those to your people too. So
yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And we will talk to everyone soon. And if anyone has a question or someone in our organization they'd like to hear more from, please let us know, because we have some fantastic people in Yoga for First Responders, and I think it'd be valuable to hear from everybody. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will talk to everyone soon.